a lot of these people grew up listening to that 9:30 news especially. So they become familiar with the voice. Couldn't make an anonymous phone call, people would recognize me. I was working in radio in Russellville at the time, and had been doing just disc jockey work and wanted to move into the news area. So I, just on a phone call, called Al Evans and asked him, if there's a possibility of any openings. And evidently he was needing someone, so we met, and he hired me to do as a disc jockey and as a newsman, and that's how I came to Newport. As in radio, as a habit, people come and go quite a bit, so there was a lot of people I worked with. At the end, I was, of course, as general manager, was taking care of sales that was occurring, making sure everything's on the air. I did the sign-on shift early in the morning, so I did a actual on air. I'd come in and do a sign-on shift, do a talk show kind of, interviews, etc. But but just everything that needed to be done at the station, I was involved in it. I was doing what I really enjoyed doing. I was doing news, and I enjoyed going out, digging up the story, reporting on it. I enjoyed that area. I made a lot of folks got upset with me because of it, but that was the part of that I enjoyed. I enjoyed doing the reporting, writing, putting it on the air. Much. I would say probably the middle part, where I was actually doing news reporting, not only here but in other parts of the state. But I enjoyed doing the news as much as anything. Just overall, I enjoyed working there the whole time. It was a good time. I don't have one that just jumps out at me. I was a Saturday. I was home, not working, and had someone at the house, and I had to take them back to town to get their car, and drove to Newport, and on the way back here, the storm hit. I was listening to the radio, and I know when it hit because that's when the power went off and the radio station went down. But as I pulled up to the front of this place, I could see scattered buildings across my yard, so I knew it had hit. Went in. The end out of the trailer, it was another trailer, had been taken out, and so I went in, no power, but I did have telephone service. So I moved the phone out to this porch, another porch, and called the station and began broadcasting live from right here. There was a tree across the road down that direction. Over there had been major damage, and had one fatality down there. Ambulances and workmen were parking in front of my house. No, it was just a good career. I got into it late in life. I was older when I got into it. Would have loved to have got into it much earlier, but I didn't know anything about it. But I just enjoyed my career as a whole. I did everything. I've interviewed presidents, governors, movie stars, athletes, famous athletes, a lot of famous people that I have interviewed and talked to, seen a lot of things, but I just love my career. Yeah, I don't remember specific memories, but he was always one that you could talk to. He listened to you, he respected your decisions, he treated you fairly, and I enjoyed being with him, just being around him. And but he was a good man. He's the character. I loved him. Still do. We worked together on the air in the morning shows, doing that for several years. He and I, Bud Black, Michael Steele was in there, and but we had a great time. When I first started work there, Heath was part-time. He was strictly coming in after school, doing the nighttime shift. So over the years, I saw Heath go from a high school kid working at night to becoming quite an accomplished radio man. Like I said, when I went to work there, he was a high school kid coming in, and so we watched him grow.
Yeah.
So that part of it, we were like, extra parents, I guess,
Yeah.
It was an old building when I walked in it the first time. It had been there a long time, had seen a lot, they'd had a fire through it, had rebuilt it, and it's a trademark. It's been there on the highway since whenever. I can remember pilots telling us that they use the light of the tower to guide them where they're going. They would be flying over, and they'd zero in on the light of that tower, and they'd know kind of where they were when they were flying through. And that had guys from Blytheville, Southern Missouri, and Memphis, and all that tell me that. So, it's been there forever. I'm sorry to see it go down like it is. I don't think there's much they can do with it. It's sad, but that happens to all buildings. I had a good career. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I worked with some great people, did a lot of things that if you'd talked to me when I came out of high school and struggling back then, would never have thought that I'd do. I mean, I'm a guy that was born and raised in Horseshoe, Arkansas, which you have no idea where that is, but that's out south of town, about 10 miles. And I've ended up, like I said, sitting down and talking to presidents and movie stars and all kinds of politicians and athletes and famous people. And that was because I was in the radio business. The radio business made it where I was able to sit there and talk to them, not embarrass myself when I'm trying to talk to them. But it was a great career. I enjoyed it. Can't think of anything else I would have enjoyed more. First off, at that point in time, when it was at its glory days, we were the only one.
Yeah.
It was not like it is now, where you can go across the dial and pick up all these different radio stations. If you wanted to listen to anything tied to this area, KNBY was the radio station, because the other stations couldn't get in here as much. So that made us better, because we knew there was a large audience out there. And the people, our listeners, made us everything. Without the listeners, if they weren't there and they didn't tune our station in, we didn't mean anything. If we weren't on their radio, we were nothing. It didn't count what we were doing. So people in this area were very loyal to the radio station, whether they were listening to music in the morning, the 9:30 news, trading post, or listening to the ball games, the Razorbacks, the Cardinals, and
Coach's
the Greyhounds. Those people that were listening to those programs is what made us popular and made us what we are. Hey, we're just people, and if nobody's listening to that radio station, we're nothing. We're going to work at a service station somewhere. I love them all. We've been up and down, over and out, and we've had our good times, our bad times, but I don't remember anything but good times when it comes to the employees. They were great. I enjoyed working with them, and it was a great time, great run. We can't fault today's generation for not knowing about us, because that's the way time works. They move on. But it was a great time. We had our heyday. We knew what it was to walk into a grocery store and be recognized, yelled at about something you said on the air, good or bad. And we all went through it. I heard you this morning, boy, what are you talking about, Those were the heydays. And we enjoyed them. We got the benefit from them. And we hope, and I think I'm speaking for everyone, we hope we return to something to those loyal listeners that repaid them for listening to us.